I've seen a lot of players, and Joe was a real talent.
And it was pretty apparent that Joe was a naturally gifted basketball player at that early an age. He was just much more advanced than everybody.
And one of those kids that was tagged to be, boy, he has a lot of potential, and and hopefully he'll develop into a great player, which he did.
A great person to have on the floor when you needed a hoop.
Joe grew up in Tremont, played a lot of basketball at Merrick House over there, and one of the guys who ran Merrick House, Steve Foodie, and Steve really liked Saint Ignatius and would try to get as many kids as he could to apply to Ignatius and get into Ignatius.
What actually happened was our mentor played a very big role in our lives. A lot of the things I think that have made Joe who he is as a person come from our mentor.
Tonight, the Vikings of St. Joe's will play host to the Wildcats of St. Ignatius. And they've got a beauty in the sophomore phenom, Joe Ray.
Another one in the great tradition of basketball players for St. Ignatius. Joe Ray out front, a quick guard, very active player who likes to take charge of the ball out front.
When he came in, we made him try out with the freshmen, and after maybe 2 practices, we decided that he was ready to go up to the JVs.
Being a great three-point shooter and as quick as Joey was made him a very formidable player in the Cleveland area.
I came home one summer, and I think Joe might have been 13 years old. And in those days, you played on the streets. So I took him up there, and we was like, okay, let's play. So it was me and him and 3 other guys, and we were playing against some other guys, and they were a pretty tall bunch of guys. I remember getting a rebound, throwing it to Joe going down the court, coming down, going in for a layup, and this big 6'10" guy just blocks his shot and just pins it on the backboard, okay? And you could hear the oohs and the ahs of the crowd, and everybody was like thinking this was a big deal, And Joe, his temperament was even tempered, but when he became embarrassed, he stepped it up a little bit. So it was about 2 plays later, he gets a rebound, he tosses it to me. I'm in the middle of the court, I'm driving down, he's on my right-hand side, and I throw it to him. And he takes 2 dribbles and he cups it, and he dunks it on the guy's head, right? And the ball bounces off the guy's head out of bounds. And then I turned to the guy who's 6'10", probably 22 years old, and I said, he's 13 years old. And that's when I knew Joe was not an ordinary basketball player.
Joe was a very aggressive, flashy player, could handle the ball very well.
A very offensive-minded player, very talented.
Joey was a prolific scorer.
He was an AAU All-American. He played against all the best players in the country, in the United States. Jason Kidd, all those guys.
And by the time he got to be a junior, college coaches knew about him.
That he was really sought after by a large number of colleges to come and play for them. And it was kind of crazy here for a while. And there were big name coaches coming in all the time.
We had coaches from UCLA in the gym, Cal Berkeley. His last 5 schools for his visits he set up were Michigan, Xavier, Dayton, Wake Forest, and I believe Vanderbilt. So he went in the summer before his senior year to being, an all-city kid who was one of the best kids in Cleveland to a really highly recruitable player.
For a young kid, a 17-year-old kid, when you get that kind of attention, that can be hard to deal with. And I thought Joey dealt with it very well. But he was a good kid.
He has a little daughter. Talks about her a lot now. He talks about her saying, oh, she just loves to shoot. I thought, well, the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree.
But he was a special player. I mean, he was a kid that people recognized could do wonderful things on a basketball floor.